And so, so what do we do in these situations, right? He says that Columbo can also help us get out of a different kind of tough situation. Sometimes we need to use questions to set up the conversation in a way that is most favorable to us, right? So, let's say you have a boss who's a lesbian, and they ask you, this is your boss, what do you think about homosexuality? Yeah. Whoa, right?
Okay, now.
Right? And so he says, if you're placed in a situation where you suspect your convictions will be labeled intolerant, bigoted, narrow-minded, judgmental, he says use the Columbo tactic to turn the tables on them.
Right. Right. So it could be something along the lines of saying something like, this is actually a very personal question you're asking, and I don't mind answering because we should always be ready to give an answer for the hope that we have, and this involves it, and especially if you're this outspoken Christian that, people know, and so you want to ask, I don't mind answering, but before I do, I want to know if it's safe to offer my views. And in this day and age, that's a very important question to ask. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you consider yourself a tolerant person or an intolerant person on issues like this? Is it safe to give my opinion, or are you going to judge me for my point of view? Do you respect diverse points of view, or do you condemn others for convictions that differ from your own? And these are important because theoretically, this is what the other person is going to espouse. So if you just came in and said, "Oh yes, lesbianism, homosexuality is an abomination unto the Lord," 1 Corinthians tells us, and so such were some of you. So you can be saved from your homosexuality, just as people were and are, and continuing on. If you accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior,
and then you're accused of hate speech, and you lose your job.
Right? Yeah, or bigotry. And so what you're doing is hopefully utilizing kind of their worldview against them, or you're at least wanting to posit the claim to them that you're asking for tolerance here, you're asking for diverse opinion, that you respect people that don't hold the same values of you, and that who are you to judge? Those are kind of the big three key for this type of conversation. So you're putting those questions to lead them to hopefully giving you a position to answer that question to the best of your ability.
Right. So the direction leading them here is to be tolerant with your answer.
Right.
Right. That's the direction that you're trying to lead them. So you're asking them, are they tolerant or are they intolerant? Right. And so you are, of course, most people will want to be tolerant, right?
Yeah.
And so you've led them into that direction. So now when you give the answer, they really can't, name call and accuse you of all these various things. And again, the problem with being called intolerant or bigoted or all of these various judgmental, narrow-minded, is that usually these things are conversation stoppers, right? And if a person thinks that you're any of these types of things, they really dismiss what you have to say. It's almost as if they put up blinders, right? And so you don't want that. You want them to be open to what you have to say.
Right. And still utilizing the Columbo questions of what do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? The initial question of what do you think about homosexuality? The clarifying question of what do you mean by that could be, well, I'm just talking about in the scope of this role here in job. And so instead of launching into a gospel presentation, your boss is talking about a work issue, and so she's phrased it wrong or incorrectly, and so you're trying to ask a clarifying question, and you're leading that person to kind of clarify themselves here. So when you give your point of view, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to call you intolerant because you've set up these questions of, are you a compassionate person? Do you actually want to hear diverse opinions? And hopefully they'll agree to that, and you'll kind of prime the pump so that if they call you bigoted, it's like, whoa, hold on, I thought you said this was safe to answer, that I'm able to give my opinion, that you like diverse opinions. Here I'm diverse opinion from what you expect. If you just want me to parrot you, I mean, you're paying me, so I guess I could say a number of things as long as it doesn't cross my conviction, but yeah, hopefully this leading question will kind of prime the pump of it.
And you should, you should get them to answer it. Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you respect diverse opinions? Are you tolerant or intolerant? And you want an answer from them, right? And so you want them to commit to a particular position, right? That they're like this.
Yeah.
Now, what happens though if they beat you to the punch, right? And you've already been labeled intolerant by someone, right? Well, Columbo.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
This is starting to sound familiar.
Yeah. So if they say, well, it's clear you think you're right and everyone else who disagrees with you is wrong, then you need to point out with questions that they're doing, notice, the very same thing that they're accusing you of doing.
Sounds like an internal critique. I love the internal critique. Thank you, Nancy Piercy.
So what do you mean by this, right? And then you get them to lay out their clarification of it, and oftentimes they're doing exactly what they're accusing you of doing.
Right. You're being intolerant and bigoted. I'm scared of that. Okay. Well, you're doing that thing that you said I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you the question of, I guess I do think my views are correct. It's always possible I could be mistaken, but in this case, I don't think I am. The person responds, but what about you? You seem to be, I'm sorry, that's the your boss. Yeah. And then your response is, but what about you? You seem to be disagreeing with me. Do you think your own views are right? Are they correct? Well, yes, I think I'm right too, but I'm not intolerant. You are. Okay, that's the part that confuses me. Why is it when I think I'm right, I'm intolerant, but when you think you're right, you're just right? What am I missing here? Again, you're asking, those Columbo questions here, and hopefully diffusing it. You're pointing out exactly where you're wanting to lead this discussion, which is they're being inconsistent, that they're asking from you what they don't expect of themselves. And no one likes hypocrites here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So those Christians are the only hypocrites in town.
Yeah. And so they don't want to be one, right? Right.